one of the reasons I wanted to get in a rock and roll band was to be as loud as Deep Purple.
One of my very first singers that influenced me was Ian Gillan.
When I think about Deep Purple, I mean, the thing that always strikes me first is just their musicianship.
I mean, it's pretty simple. Deep Purple were better than everybody else.
Nobody gonna take my car, I'm gonna race into the ground.
I went to my first Deep Purple concert in February 1973, Copenhagen, Denmark. There was a tennis tournament at KP Holland. It RIP, unfortunately, as you know, burned down about 6 months ago.
Big fat tires and everything.
All the tennis players were invited to the Deep Purple show that took place on the Sunday before the tournament. And my father was given 4 tickets, and he went with a couple of the more edgier tennis players, and then they had a spare ticket, so I was dragged along. I was all of 9 years old, and I had no idea what I was getting dragged into.
There once was a woman, a strange kind of woman.
Deep Purple come out, and Ritchie Blackmore is throwing his guitar around and playing it with his foot, and Ian Gillan is screaming his head and his lungs out. Ian Pace is just back there hidden behind hair and playing without a shirt on, and it's just 2 hours of energy. John Lord is sort of holding the whole thing down with the keyboards, and Roger Glover is doing the bass thing and kind of following Ritchie, following Ian, following John Lord, kind of being the anchor in the whole thing. And it blew my mind. I had never seen energy at that level. I'd never seen performance. I'd never seen personality. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen.
For being a drummer, Ian Pace he was my hero. He was my idol. He was one of my first real influences.
Ritchie was part of that Hendrix club, I guess you'd have to say. All of us grew up listening to that, and we said, that's our foundation. You've got to be as good as that, as interesting as that, as original as that.
The freak said, man, no cat can really swing.
It was so cool, and I remember Ritchie, clearly to this day I still have, Ritchie was kind of holding the black and white Strat above his head and doing his whole kind of, stick with it, probably towards the end of Space Truckin'. But it just blew my head off, and I walked down to the local record store the next day and said Deep Purple. So I started with Fireball, and then within days or weeks, I would get the rest of the records, and Deep Purple stayed with me. Deep Purple were in a different league.
Oh, you mothers! God bless you. Right on. Thank you very much.